Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome to today. Welcome to this moment. Thank you for being here. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I see the hearts, I see the love. Let me know who is tuning in. Let me know where you are tuning in from. And let's just start with what are we grateful for? I believe that gratitude can shift us into any reality we want to be in. I believe that gratitude is the secret sauce to living the life of our dreams. So tell me, who are you? Where are you from? And what are you grateful for? And hello, Jen. Hello, hello. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. My name is Giannetti Kendall for anyone who hasn't met me before. And I am on a mission of unconditional love. I truly believe that unconditional love is not something we do. Love in general is not something we do. It's not something we give. It's not something we receive, but it's who we are in our beingness. And so my mission today, my mission every day, my mission for always is to bring us back into love, bring us back into the beingness of love, bringing us back into the heart, and to bring us back into unconditional love. So thank you, thank you, thank you for trusting me today to guide you, to lead you, to love you, to empower you. And our talk and our meditation for today will be shifting our stories, changing our stories so that we can change our life. Because the stories that we tell ourselves, in my belief system, is what dictates the life that we live. And so today we're going to be talking about that today. So if you are ready, put ready in the chat. So I want to just start us off before we dive into the talk, before we dive into anything. I just want to ground us a little bit. I want to bring us into this moment, into our hearts, back into our soul. So I'm going to invite us to just close down our eyes for just a moment as we ground ourselves in. And maybe just place your hand on your heart and just take a deep breath in through your nose, holding the breath at the top, and then breathing out. Taking another deep breath in, holding the breath, and breathing out. Continuing that breath, and just start to set your intention for this live, for this video, this workshop, this day. Maybe even your intention for your life from where you're standing in this moment. Just start to set the intention without needing to know how it's going to arrive or how you're going to get there or what pieces are going to come. Just choose it. And then breathe into that intention. And breathing that intention out. Feeling your heart rising and falling on your hand. And if it feels good to do so, calling upon your guides, your angels, wherever you find your faith. Maybe this is ancestors, maybe even your past self or your future self. Your past self and your future self will be very helpful for today's live. So maybe I invite you to call upon that. Calling upon these energies to guide you, to lead you, to empower you, and to help you to shift your story that you're telling yourself so that you can change your life. And I invite you to just imagine now a beautiful white crystalline light shining above your head, as bright and as beautiful as the golden sun. And allow this light to just start to radiate your whole being, your body, your soul, your spirit. And allow this light to just start to radiate down through the crown of your head, touching every part of your beingness, bringing you more into this moment, more into presence. Allowing this light to just shine down through your head and your thoughts, melting away the stories that you've been telling yourself. Giving yourself permission to let it all go now, to come into this moment. Letting go of your sight, all that you've seen today. Allowing your eyes to just rest, to be rewired. Allowing this light to move down through your face and your ears. Letting go of the stories that people have told you. Down through your mouth and your throat. Letting go of the stories that you've spoken. And allowing that light to just move down into your shoulders. Letting go of anything that you've been carrying that's no longer serving you. Down through your arms and your hands. Your back as you continue to just put down anything that you're carrying. Anything that's too heavy. Letting go of the stories of your life that are no longer serving you, that you may have been carrying since childhood, into your teenage years, your adult years, and let it all go. Allow this light to melt it away. And allow this light to come into your heart, opening and expanding your heart into the story that you do want to tell yourself, into the story of love, the story of health, the story of abundance, the story of peace, the story of community. Feeling into what story do you want to create today? What story do you want to create for your life? Allow your heart to lead you. And then moving this light down into your gut, your solar plexus, your power center. Letting go of any places where you've told the story that you can't trust your gut instincts. Just let it go. And allow this light to just move now down into your pelvis, into your sex, into your creation energy. The place in which creation is formed, is birthed. And tapping into this powerful energy of the sex to help you to create, to shift, to change, and to birth a new story. And then move this light down into your legs, down into your feet, and allowing the story that you want to tell yourself to start to take action as you move your feet, as you walk down the path of your greatest story, your greatest life. And then just take a moment here in the stillness and the silence to just feel into this void, this emptiness, a place of infinite possibilities to create the life of your dreams. And then feeling into your heartbeat, taking a deep breath in, taking a deep breath out, taking another deep breath in, coming back into your body. Letting go of the stories, coming back into your body as just an empty vessel, an empty blank page, free of anything that happened before, letting go of anything that happened before this moment, letting go of anything that will happen after this moment. And just come back into the present, starting to wiggle your fingers and your toes, noticing what you can hear, noticing what you can taste, noticing what you can smell. And then when you're ready, opening up your eyes and notice what you can see. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Let me know in the chat, how did that feel for you? I did not expect to go into a whole meditation. That was completely channeled in. If you've been with me before, usually I just drop us into community and connection, and then I do my talk, and then I do a meditation at the end. But I guess Spirit and my guides wanted me to do something a little different today. So let me know, how did that feel for you? How does the idea of writing a new story, how does that feel? Maybe it feels a little scary. Maybe it feels a little exciting. Tell me, communicate with me. So my name is Giannetti Kendall. And if you're just now tuning in, I am on a mission of unconditional love. I believe that unconditional love is not only possible, but it's who we are. And so every day I'm on a mission to bring people back into the beingness of love, helping people to come back into the knowing, the soul knowing that love is not something we give, love is not something we do, love is not something we receive, but it's a state of being. And when we are being in our own authentic, unique love that we are, then we can't help but to feel loved and give love and do acts of love. And so that's always my mission. I want to start with that. And so I want to invite you guys, as I go into the talk today, we're going to be talking about rewriting our story to change our life, to take what resonates for you, what resonates in your heart, what resonates in your soul, and to throw away what doesn't resonate with you. I believe that no one truth is the ultimate truth. I believe that there's many different religions and beliefs, and we're all unique because we all need different answers at different points in our life. And so if it feels good to you, I invite you to take it as your own. If it doesn't feel good to you, I invite you to just sit with it for a moment, because sometimes the things that trigger us the most actually need to trigger us, because that's what we need to heal. That's what we need to grow into. So sometimes we need to be shaken. So I invite you to just feel into it and feel, maybe it's yours, maybe it's not. And if it's not, then just throw it away and leave it. So I'm so grateful to be here with you guys today. And this live today was actually inspired by all of my talks, all of my meditations, or what people ask me to talk about. So if there's anything that lights you up, if there's anything that you want to hear about, any meditations, any lives, any workshops, any courses, if there's any place where you're in need, please let me know. Let me know in the comments. Feel free to send me a message at any point. You're always invited to reach out to me. My inbox is always open. You can always email me. So if there was anything after today or during this that comes alive in you that you would like for me to talk about in the future, I invite you to let me know. But today was inspired by actually my uncle. My uncle actually inspired this talk. And just to get a little personal, he, for a long time, had this story, and I'm not going to go, big into his personal story, but he had this story of his life, and it was years ago that I gave him a different narrative. I gave him a different perspective. I gave him a different way to see the life that he was living. And at the time, he wasn't yet ready for that change of narrative. But it was only in the last couple months I was talking to my uncle, and he gave me the narrative of his life that I told him years before, that he finally was ready to take as his own. And the minute that he changed his perspective, the moment that he changed his story, the moment that he changed the meaning that he gave to his life shifted. And so I was inspired that I want to talk about this today, because I truly believe that the stories that we tell ourselves becomes the life that we live. So today we're going to talk about the stories we tell ourselves and how these stories shape the way that we experience our life. Not in this fake positive way, not in a pretend everything is perfect way, but in a completely conscious and honest way. Because sometimes I believe that we get trapped in our own circumstances. We get trapped in our own stories. And so today we're going to shift that. So if you're ready, I invite you to put in the chat, say, I'm ready. Tell me who's tuning in. Talk to me, communicate with me, ask me questions, talk to each other, and tell me who you are, where you're tuning in from, and where you're grateful. And what are you grateful for today? So I'm grateful for you guys today. So first off, our mind is always making stories. Our mind is always making meaning. Our mind makes something mean something. Everything that happens to us. For example, I have this lipstick, right? And I can hand you this lipstick. This sounds silly, but I could hand you this lipstick, and when I hand you this lipstick, you're going to make meaning out of it. You could have the meaning of, oh, she wants to share with me. That's so nice. Or you could have the meaning of, oh my God, does she not think I'm pretty enough? She thinks I need lipstick? Or you could make the meaning of, oh my goodness, that's filled with germs. She wants to make me sick. She wants to share her lipstick with me and make me sick. Or we make meaning out of everything. And the meaning in which we make is what creates our life. So I want to empower us to start to rethink the meaning that we give to things. Something happens, and then something happens in our life, and then we create meaning out of it, right? So another example is, our partner says something, or someone, and then we make meaning out of what it is that they said to us. And so some of these meanings are, I'm not healthy, or these are the stories of I'm not healthy, or I don't have a partner, or I don't have enough money, or I'm unsupported, or I'm behind, or I'm a failure. I never get what I want. Do any of these stories resonate? Have you ever told yourself any of these stories? And once we repeat these stories long enough, we start to look for evidence that it's true. So, and a lot of these stories that we've told ourselves are stories that we once heard. Maybe it's a story that someone told to us. Maybe it's a story that our mother said to us as a child. Or I specialize in the first 7 years of development. And so my whole life's work is how the first 7 years of life dictates how we love for the rest of our life. And so I'm a big geek when it comes to our subconscious. We heal things in our childhood. Your mother told you stories. Your father told you stories. You heard stories all around. You heard people telling you who you were. You heard people telling you stories like, oh, you're a great artist. Or you heard stories of other people just talking about themselves and saying, hey, I'm not a great artist. Or you clean well. Or I can't clean well. We're constantly hearing these narratives around us. And as we heard these narratives in our childhood, as we continue to heal these narratives now as adults, they create the stories that we live. And the first step in changing our story is to decide that the story that you're telling yourself is or isn't serving you. You have to decide and look at the story. Is this story that I'm not healthy, is this serving me or is it not serving me? And it may sound simple when I give the example of I'm not healthy. You think, of course, that story is not serving me. But it is. It can serve you. Because I believe, this is my belief, again, take what resonates, throw away what doesn't. But my belief system is that if something is present in our reality, it's serving us in some way. We might not like it, we may not love it, we may not want it, but we've attached this story because that story in some way serves us, right? So maybe, and I'll give you my own life example. So I'm a mom. I have the most beautiful boy in the whole entire world. He is just absolutely perfect. I adore him. I love him. And a couple months back, I got diagnosed with Lyme's disease. And my whole knee just completely blew up. And so, for a moment, I fell into that story of, why is this happening to me? Until I realized, okay, if I'm sick, there has to be a reason. This is my belief system, is that there has to be a reason that this has manifested. There has to be a reason. There has to be something that this health problem that I'm facing is serving me. How is this serving me? And so I went deep into my internal world and my meditation, and I asked the questions of how could Lyme's disease serve me? How could my knee blowing up this big be serving me? And when I actually faced my darkness, when I actually faced my shadow, I realized that it was my own stuck energy. This is me vulnerably talking. It's a little, let me take a deep breath here. I realized one of the reasons, there was many things that came up, but one of the things that came up for me is in motherhood, I have a tendency, okay, I'm vulnerably speaking, I'm sharing my heart with you, I'm sharing my soul, I hope that's okay. But I've noticed that in motherhood, I've lost myself. I've invested so much into my son, and I know so many mothers do this. But I started to lack self-care. I had never been away from my son for more than 2 hours, only with his father. And there was this voice in my head for the past 2 years that said, you have to take some space, Genna. You have to take some self-care. You have to come back to you. I have a mission of motherhood, but I also have a mission of what I'm doing right now, right here, of serving more people, right? But I've had a story. Here's another story in my head. I've had a story in my head that says, if I walk away from my son, if I come on Insight Timer, if I do a video, if I do a coaching session, and I walk away from my son, then I'm a bad mom. I'm a bad mom. And that story wasn't serving me. But I had this knocking that said, Genna, you need to take some self-care. You need to take some time away from him. You need to come back to you. You need to meditate. But I wasn't taking action on that because I had a story in my head that said, if I take time away from my son, then I'm a bad mom. And so maybe, who knows? Maybe I subconsciously, maybe I unconsciously caused myself to be sick. Not that I wanted that, right? Because what happened when I got sick, I had to come back to me. And now I have a new story that says, well, mama's sick. Mama has to take care of herself, because if mama doesn't take care of herself, then I can't take care of you. And so it changed my story. And so what happened is my knee blew up. I got Lyme's disease, and I had to go to physical therapy twice a week. I had to go to the chiropractor twice a week. I had to go to all of these doctors, right? And I didn't know if my knee was blowing up because it was Lyme's or if I had a meniscus tear, right? And so finally, for the first time in 2 years, I was actually taking space away from my son to take self-care. And I wouldn't call this self-care, but it was necessary care, right? And I would go to PT, and when I was at physical therapy, there would be a moment in physical therapy where they would leave me alone in the room, and they'd, have all this stuff on me, and I'd just be by myself for 20 minutes. And it was then that I realized, oh my goodness, like I can meditate right now. I can be alone right now. Like I haven't had this in a long time, and I'm going to be honest with you. It felt good to be able to take some time to myself. And so the realization I had when I was at physical therapy was the shadow aspect of, could this sickness have served me so that I finally can take the space away from my son, who I love so much, to one, take self-care, to take care of myself, and then to come back to what I'm doing right now in this moment. Serving you, helping you. If this is helping you, let me know in the comments. Let me know if this is helpful or not. But I have a mission to be a mom, and I have a mission to serve other people in unconditional love too. And so these stories that we tell ourselves are serving us in some way until we decide, this is not serving me anymore. This story is not helping me anymore. It's not empowering me anymore. And we change it. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I have notes here. So until we change it, does this resonate? I'm going to pause for a minute, and I want you guys to talk to me. I want you to tell me what in the chat is resonating, what's not resonating. And so there's actually a scientific word. It's called narrative identity. And this is a word that is defined as, I'm going to read the definition out loud. Okay, so narrative identity is the internalized, ongoing story that we tell ourselves about who we are, where we have been, and where we're headed. And it's not a fixed story. Rather, it's a dynamic account that is continuously written and edited based on our life experiences. And so science has actually shown that we have this narrative identity, and we identify with these stories. And then when we identify with these stories, it then becomes our lives. And so those three things in our life, those three main places where our story for our life is usually created. And the first place is our foundation. Our foundation is our early years. I talked about this in the beginning of our first 7 years of life. The stories that we saw as a child, our childhood memories, our formative relationships, our family environments. These stories, these elements contribute to our core beliefs, our values, and how we perceive the world. And so an example of this, is, as a child, I grew up and both of my parents were addicts. I grew up and I was taken away by the foster care system, and I was switched around from home to home. If you've been with me for a while, you may or may not have heard me say that. And for a long time, I remember, especially in high school and middle school, I identified with this story. I told this story a lot. I told the story of me as a child and all of this because it became my identity. It became I became the daughter of addict parents, because I felt like by me holding on to that story, it made me who I was, and I needed that story to become who I was. And even in the work that I'm doing, I don't talk much about these formative years. I don't talk much about my early childhood anymore because I don't identify with it as much anymore. But there's still moments like right now where I share the stories of my childhood because it still helps people in their own childhood healing. It helps people in learning how important the first 7 years of our life is. It helps with, my coaching of the mother-child relationship. And so even though I might not identify with those stories of what I went through as a child are still helpful in me helping others. So those stories from my childhood, my father, my mother being what they were, me being taken away, me going through all of this, in one person's perspective, someone might, say, "Oh, I'm so sorry you went through that." But it has empowered me. It has served me. It has helped me to, one, become the person I am today, but it also has helped me to help others to heal their own stuff. And so I don't look at my childhood and I don't cry about it anymore. There was a time in my life where I did cry about it. It was trauma. I don't call it trauma anymore. I've gone through it. I've worked through it. It's not trauma anymore. It's now my empowerment. I now use my pain into my purpose. I've turned my pain into my purpose to help others. I've turned the mess that I've made into my message to serve others. And so the first part of this narrative identity of how we identify ourselves is this foundation, our early years, our childhood, our formative relationships, our families, our environments that have shaped us and who we are. And you can decide, is this story from my childhood still serving me? Is it helping me? Or do I drop the story, recognize what happened has happened, but is no longer part of my identity anymore? So that's number one. Number two is the key life events in our life that have shaped our story of who we are. And this focuses on our milestones, our education, our careers, our relationships. So for me, my biggest key events for me, like if I was to have a movie about my life, I bet you the movie of my life would be something along the lines of like the lovers she's had, or the men that she's loved, or the lovers of the past, or like my whole life is just love and relationships. So many of my key events are my past partners, right? And but we all have these, like the good stories, right? So we have good key events, right? We have good key moments of like, I had this gonna sound so silly, this just popped in my head, but I had a best friend, Christina. And when we were 10 years old, I grew up in Michigan, and there was this place called Rochester. Do I have anyone from Michigan here? And in Rochester, every year they had this, it was called Dancing in the Street. And oh, I'm getting so happy talking about this. And every year we would go to Dancing in the Street, and we were about 10, maybe 12. And one day we went to Dancing in the Street, and there was three boys who were like following us and like wanting to give us candy, and we ended up like flirting with them, and they became my first boyfriend at 10 years old, right? My first boyfriend at 10 years old. And I remember me and Christina left Rochester and we replayed that story over and over our head. We retold that story. We were so happy. It was the best day of our life. It was the best day of our life, right? At 10 and 12 years old, that these three boys were flirting with us and hanging out with us, and were now our boyfriends, right? And so this event, though, is one of those key moments in my life, right? Even at 10 years old, even at 12 years old, it's a key event that made me who I am today, right? So that's a positive story. That's a happy story, right? But we also have key events that have hurt us, right? we have traumas that have happened that have become key events. You know, the people who have hurt us, the pain that we've been through, right? The accidents that we've had, the traumas that we've had have also been key events that have shaped our story of who we are today. They are personal challenges or setbacks. They've molded our self-perceptions and our outlooks and our behaviors. And so that's the key events. And then the last thing that really shapes our story and our identity of who we are is our forward view, who we want to become, our goals, our aspirations, or how we envision the future. You know, it involves reflecting on how, you know, your past stories have helped or hindered your objectives of setting the intentions for your personal growth. So, like, for example, you know, I gave the story of my childhood, right? And so I have my goals, I have my dreams, I have my desires for what I want in the future. And some of those may or may not be rooted in my childhood trauma of why do I want, you know, this future home? Why do I want to serve? Like, here's an example. Is one of my dreams, one of my goals is I want to serve 1,000,000 people. I dream of standing on a stage with 1,000,000 people and me leading 1,000,000 people in meditation, right? I dream of giving talks all over the world on helping people to heal their heartbreak, right? And to love unconditionally. And why the first 7 years of a child's life is the most important time in one's life and how you should be a present mom, right? So I have this future dream. And I would be lying if I didn't say that my past, right, my foundation years weren't a contributor of that future dream. Why am I so passionate about unconditional love? Why am I so passionate about early childhood education? Why am I so passionate about meditation and calming your nervous system? Because it's what I needed when I was a child. So those past stories still are dictating these present stories and our future stories. Does that make sense? So the three things, just to come, the three things, the three main pillars that dictate the stories of our life are our foundation, the key events in our life, and then a forward view of where we want to go, who we want to become, how we're going to get there. Does that make sense? I'm going to pause. I see that there was a comment in the chat. Let me know if that resonates. Let me know if that's helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what's resonating, what's helping, and let me know what's not resonating. Our feedback is good feedback. Laureen said, yes, the stories we tell ourselves are so powerful. I understand and truly believe exactly what you're saying. My question is, how do we change the narratives and the challenges and believe the new story and keep the new story alive in our soul? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful question. So there was so many different ways to do this. One is meditation, like letting go of the stories. And then throughout the day, noticing when those stories are coming up and choosing to consciously let it go. But my favorite way that I believe is the most helpful way to change our narrative is to write a new story. Okay, so physically write a new story of what you want your life to look like, and then start to look for the proof of that. So, for example, let's go back to the health. If you've had a story that I'm not healthy, and you've carried that story for a long time of I'm not healthy, that's now become your identity. Now, maybe your knee blew up, right? Maybe you have Lyme's disease, right? But that's one part of your health. Your left leg still moves. Your heart is still beating. Your ears are still healing, right? You are still healthy. There's one thing in your life that's unhealthy, but there's 99 things in your life that are healthy. So shifting your story around I'm not healthy to I am healthy by looking for the evidence of where you are healthy. Another example of this is, let's switch it to love, okay? So if you're looking for a partner, okay, and you're like, I'm alone, I don't have a partner, I'm single, right? In reality, that may seem true, right? If you're talking to someone, you're like, yeah, I don't, like, I'm single, I live alone, like, that's true. I don't have a partner. But I would challenge that belief and say, one, you're not alone, you're not living alone, and you do have partners. And you'd look at me and say, Genna, you're crazy. Like, I live alone, I don't have a partner. And I would say, here's the evidence. You don't live alone because there was tons of atoms and molecules that are living among you, right? If we go woo-woo, maybe those guides, right? Maybe you have a cat. You're not living alone, right? You're not living alone because that couch lives here too. That couch has energy, right? You have, those different things that are living among you, right? So you're not living alone. You're never alone. So there's the evidence, right? And so you would go around and be like, okay, where am I not living alone, right? And then say, okay, I do have a partner, right? So your story is, I don't have a partner. Well, where in your life do you have a partner? So maybe you don't have a romantic partner. Maybe you're not falling asleep with someone in their arms every night, but you have a friend. You have a best friend that you've been friends with for 20 years, and that's a life partner. You have a mother who you may or may not get along with, but she's a life partner. You have a sister, you have a brother, and all of these people have been in your life for an extended amount of time. They're your life partners. So then you start to change that story from I don't have a partner to I do have a partner by looking for the evidence of where you do have the partner. So the way in which you change your story is you start to challenge that narrative by finding evidence of what it is that you do want, what it is that you do desire. Okay, so another example is if you have a story of I don't have enough money, right? I would say look at your bank account, and even if you only have 1 penny, you have enough, right? You're not broke. So you start to look for the evidence that contradicts this story that you're telling yourself. And then you start to embody it. And once you focus on the evidence of this new story, so let's go back to the partner, okay? So you have a story, you say, I'm alone, I don't have a partner, right? And then you start to change the evidence of where in your life do you have a partner? Where in your life do you, are you supported? Once you start to look for the evidence, you're going to get more of that. Or it has been scientifically proven. Actually, let's do an experiment for a minute, okay? Let's do an experiment. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes for a minute. And we're going to be here for a second. I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and take a deep breath out. Okay, now I want you to open your eyes. And I want you to look around the room, and I want you to find everything that is red. Look around. What is red? What is red? Okay? Maybe play with me for a minute. Put in the chat, what is red that you see? Okay? And now I'm going to ask you, what did you see that was blue? What was blue? The point is, when I'm telling you to look for red, you see red, but your eyes didn't notice what was blue. Our brain has been trained to look at the stories that we've been telling ourselves. And so the way in which we change our story is by changing the things that we see. So to put this in perspective, if you have the story of I'm alone, then you're going to keep finding evidence that you are alone. If you have the story of I don't have a partner, then you're going to keep finding evidence that you don't have a partner. But if you change your mindset to start to see the narrative of, okay, where do I have a partner? Okay, where am I supported? Where am I not alone? Then you're going to find more evidence of that. So it's about changing your perspective to then change your story to change your life? Does that resonate? Does that help? Give me some comments. Give me some hearts. Let me know if this is helping. Let me know if this is not helping. Let me know what questions you have. I see some hearts. Beautiful. So, one of the most powerful shifts is moving from the example, I'm not healthy, to the where am I healthy? Okay, so even if you can't find the evidence, posing the question, where am I? Where is the money, right? You want to be a millionaire. Where's the $1,000,000? Where's the $1,000,000? You want health? Where am I healthy? You want the partner? Where's my partner? Asking the universe responds in questions, and this is a powerful, powerful, powerful manifestation trick. I swear, is when you want something, asking the questions to the universe so that the universe has to answer you. So, for example, if you're manifesting your life partner, instead of praying for your life partner, asking the question of, okay, if my life partner is really out there, show me. Okay, if I'm really a millionaire, if I really have money, show me, universe. Where's the money? Where's the life partner? So asking the questions, because the minute that you start asking that, your mind then starts to begin to search for the evidence. And then you're able to tell a full story. So, for example, coming back to the health, like maybe your knee is huge, right? Maybe you're having a hard time walking, but your lungs are breathing, your heart is beating, your mind is healed, you're walking today, right? And so it begins to tell a full story. So you start to get a new story of my body is healing. There are parts of me that are healthy right now. My body knows how to return to balance. I am not my diagnosis, my fear, my symptoms, etc. So, the way in which we change our story, the way in which we change our lives is first off, deciding what story is no longer serving you, and then deciding what story do you want to have, and then looking for the evidence of it. And then starting to just tell a new story. So I talked about my uncle at the beginning of this that inspired this. And one thing I will share is he had lost his job. And he was for years, I'm sure it's fine to show. He was looking for a new job for years. And the shift that I told him years ago was, you're just retired. Just shift your mindset to you are retired. And the idea of I don't have a job, I can't find a job, to I am retired feels a lot better. So start to think about where in your life can you change your perspective? Where in your life can you tell a new story? And tell me in the chat. So what is a story? Let's play for just a minute. What is a story that you've been telling yourself? And what is a story that you want to tell yourself? Let's do a little practice. So maybe the old story is I am not healthy, to the new story is my body is healing. So put it in the chat. I'm going to wait a minute. I'm going to wait 1 whole minute without talking. What stories have you been telling yourself? And what new story do you want to tell yourself? Another powerful tool is to visualize, to imagine. The mind doesn't know the difference between your imagination and your current reality. And so one way to change your story is to start to visualize, to start to see a different story in your mind's eye. You start to see a different house, you start to see more people, you start to see more abundance, you start to imagine what it would feel like to have a partner, right? You start to imagine what it is that let's use the partner analogy of you can just imagine having a partner, imagine what they look like, imagine what they feel like, imagine what they taste like, what they smell like, what they hear, what you feel, and bringing the five senses into that because your mind cannot tell the difference between your current reality and your imagination. So, starting to visualize, starting to see, and bringing in the five senses can be extremely, extremely empowering. And you know what? I think that's actually how I want to end today. That's the meditation I'm going to lead us in. So, I'm going to give us 1 minute. Let me know if you have any questions. And then I'm going to just bring us into a very short, very brief meditation to help us to shift out of the old story and into the new story. And this is something that you can do every day. This is not going to be a long meditation. This would be just a meditation experience that you can take 1 minute every day and you can do. It will be very practical. So let me know, do you have any questions? And before I go into the meditation, do I have your permission to just tell you a little bit more about me? So I invite you guys, if you were new today, to click the follow button. I am doing monthly lives, and I'm really excited to announce. Let me know in the chat if beautiful Bodhi, so many stories with love and meditation, beautiful. So I got invited to go to the Conscious Life Expo in February. Has anyone heard of the Conscious Life Expo? So the Conscious Life Expo is the biggest consciousness event in what I believe is the US, and it's in LA. And so I'm going to be speaking there in February. And as I shared, I am a new mama. I have a 2-year-old son. And so I'm slowly getting back to work. I've been solely focused on motherhood, and I wouldn't want it any other way. But I've been out of practice for a while. And so I'm slowly coming back. I'm slowly coming back to doing workshops and things like that. And so I am here right now monthly. I'm thinking about increasing it to bi-weekly. So I invite you guys to message me, comment. What are you needing? What are you wanting? What are you desiring? What kinds of workshops? What kinds of meditations? What kinds of courses would really light you up? And feel free to reach out to me if this served you in any way. I invite you guys to check me out. You can go to my website, Giannetti, and I am accepting 3 one-on-one clients right now. I'm not accepting more than that because I am a mom, but I am open to 3 clients. And then I have a higher love portal. So this is a space where you can feel lit up, you can feel healed. Those meditations, those workshops, those over 400 videos that you can just browse through topic-wise. So if you're feeling heartbroken, you can search heartbreak. If you're needing some nervous system regulation, you search nervous system regulation. If you need to know how to change your story, you would put change your story. And so it's a portal of my life's work with over 400 videos of content. And it also includes a monthly one-on-one, a monthly, live workshop, and so much more. So if you're interested in that, that's called the Higher Love Portal, and you can find that on my website. And there's a wait list for that right now. And those are the 2 things that I have going on in my world right now is one-on-one and then the Higher Love Portal. And then here on Insight Timer, you can find some of my courses. So you can find harmonizing relationships. So this is for anyone who's in relationships, whether romantic or friendship, and you love them and you adore them, but you're recognizing a little bit of conflict and friction, and you're just trying to figure out, how do I come back to love? How do I stay loving? How do I harmonize this relationship? How do I make this relationship more peaceful? You can check out that. And then I have my Heal Heartbreak, Find Love. And this is for anyone who's going through a breakup, anyone who's going through a little bit of heart pain and is looking to manifest your life partner, you can check out that. I have a conscious communication course. Actually, the card's not showing up right now, but I have a conscious communication course here on Insight Timer because I believe that the state of our life is the way in which we communicate. And then my newest course is How to Love Unconditionally. You can check that out here on Insight Timer. And that is my signature program. It's everything that I stand for. So you can check all of that out here on Insight Timer. And if today was valuable for you, if it was worth your time, I invite you guys to leave a donation. The donation really shows me that the work that I'm doing is helpful, that it's valuable, that it's worth your time. It helps me to know, okay, what to continue to talk about, what not to continue to talk about, what resonates, what doesn't resonate. And it just helps me to keep going so that I can serve more people. So there is my spiel. I'm going to invite us into a little meditation now. And this is just going to be a very short, brief, everyday life thing that you can do, whether you're sitting at home or you're driving in the car, or you're at work or whatsoever. So thank you guys so much for being here today. So I invite you to just close down your eyes for just a moment. And just start to come into the breath. Take a deep breath in. And take a deep breath out. You just take 2 more deep breaths, breathing into this moment. And breathing out. Taking another deep breath. Another deep breath out. And I want you to imagine and see in your mind's eye you just as you are now. Imagine your story, your situation. And just bring to mind one thing in your life. Just one thing in your life that you want to shift. One thing in your life that you want to change. And just notice what this story is. What story have you been telling yourself that's no longer serving you? And notice, what does it look like? Bringing in your eyesight. Noticing, what does it smell like? Notice, what does it taste like? Notice, how does it feel? And what do you heal in this story that you're living? And stay here for just a moment. And notice that the way in which we change our life, the way in which we change our story, is by changing our identity. Our identity. You have to become a new version of yourself. And every moment, and every day, and every second, you are changing and you are shifting into a new version of yourself. You're constantly shifting. So with this knowing, imagine that you are standing in front of a meal. And as you stand in front of this meal, I want you to see the reflection of the identity of the version of yourself that you want to be. The new story that you want to tell. And just see in this meal, what does this person look like? What does this person sound like? What sounds are around them? What smells does it smell? What does it taste? And what does it feel? And if you can see it, it means you already are it. So seeing this version of yourself standing in front of you in the meal, and choose now to change your story. You don't need to know how, but choose that you are stepping into this new identity, this new story. And then just imagine walking into the meal and becoming this version of yourself. Changing the stories to change your life. And starting to repeat an affirmation that will bring this new story into action. So maybe the old story was, I'm not healthy. To the new story is, I am healing. Maybe the old story was, I am alone. And the new story is, I'm surrounded by people. Maybe the old story was, I don't have enough money, or I'm broke. And the new story is, I have money in my bank account. I always get paid. And starting to just anchor in one affirmation and just repeating that out loud. And then when you're ready, I invite you to come back into the space as this new story. Starting to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Opening up your eyes. This is a simple practice. I made it longer than it needs to be. But just a simple practice of knowing where you're at right now. And then imagining yourself in front of a meal, a different version of yourself, a different reflection of yourself, and walking into that meal and anchoring in the senses, the 5 senses, what they hear, what they see, what they taste, what they smell. And starting to anchor that in, because the mind cannot tell the difference between your physical reality and your imagination. And so when you imagine it, you become it. And one thing I forgot to mention in all of this today, an hour and 4 minutes later, is it's a full moon. And I have many, many, many videos on the full moon. So I didn't do anything on the full moon today. But the full moon is all about release. It's about letting go. And so today is a powerful day to release and to let go of what's not serving you, the stories that you're telling yourself. And so another thing you can do today that I invite is, it's a Sagittarius full moon. So the element is fire. It's a blue moon. And I invite you to write down all of the stories that you've been telling yourself that are no longer serving you. Write it down and then light it on fire and throw it outside. I recommend doing this outside, but literally burning the stories that are no longer serving you and transmuting the energy into something new. And then after you burn the old story, write a new story. Write a new story of what you want your story to be and start to embody it. If you want to do an extra bonus with this, you can use water. So water has memory, and you can start to infuse your new story by telling the water, this is the woo-woo, by telling the water your new story and then drinking it. But that's an extra step. So what I would like to encourage you to do today is write the old story. Write down the old story of what's no longer serving you and then burn it. Let it go, release it, and then write a new story. And then start to tell yourself that. And for extra brownie points, you can tell the story to a cup of water and then you can drink the water. That's the practice. So I hope today was helpful. Let me know. Was this helpful? Did you enjoy it? Did you love it? How much did you love it? What resonated with you? Let me know in the comments. If this was helpful, I invite you guys to check out more of my work, to click the follow button. If it was worth your time and valuable, I invite you to leave a donation of gratitude. And I will be back. The next live I will be doing is